is definitely like a solid pick, and XLB had a good game, right? And it was very hard to pin down, very hard to kill. I'm not going to discredit any of that, but the Wukong's not the reason they lost. And I feel like if it goes over, I'm not going to be concerned about it. The question really for LGD is like, well, how are they going to approach this next game? Are they going to try and index into an early aggressive comp once again? Are they going to try and lean into the later stage of the game? V5 end up going for, you know, similarly very much targeted bans. The Fiora and the Jax once again, the Azir to deny away from Yeji, who did swap it up to deal with the Gangplank. And in response, LGD are going to ban the Lucian and the Gwen once again, but go for the Talia instead. Not comfortable leaving that one open. That means we will get the Wukong once more for XLB. Really powerful pick. And the question is going to be, what will LGD take? Will they deny the Senna? Or will they look in a different direction? There is the Draven for Asum as a potential option. There is still the Kalista open. There is the Ahri if they want to pursue that. Although I feel like probably better on a third pick so it can't be countered. Yeah. But they are going to match in the jungle with Viego first and foremost.
So I do like this for Shadow himself. I think the Talia, obviously he showed out on it to some extent last game, but this feels much more down the alley of the Shadow composition, especially how he wants to approach the game. The Viego also itself has a lot of power in the team fights, especially off the resets. We will see the Nautilus, though, taken again from LGD this time. Again.
Yeah. So there's two sides to this. I'm not really a fan of the Nautilus here. There's Blind Naut coming out, but I kind of feel like they're in a position where they don't really want to commit more to the composition, so they'll just take it. But then V5 are like, well, sure, we'll just take the same first three picks we did last game. Taking the Nautilus means that they're comfortable to go for the Tahm Kench Senna, because Tahm Kench is so effective against Nautilus. If you ult in the late game, can just gobble up. And now this is why I kind of expected the AD carry pick to fall to 3, so you know what you're dealing with. They're going for an aggressive pick with this Draven, so kind of similar in that regard to the bot lane they had last game, but Asum on that signature pick of his that he's going to be able to try and find some headway. Now LGD I feel like are in a, they have the counter pick potentially that they can use in the top lane, and they also have the potential mid lane on 4 picks. So V5 might be like troubled for bans, because obviously Kayle is something they could want to eliminate, but Ahri as well is open and available. And if LGD ban Lissandra, I feel like Ahri will definitely have to be banned by V5.
Yeah, I want to go back to the Draven aspect though here. I will say, you know, that is still something I've always looked out for, especially coming into this series for Asum, is getting the comfort. I do love to see the Draven coming through for him, but we've had some Dravens, Ox, and, you know, sometimes it doesn't go the greatest, but we'll see if this one can actually pull it out against the Senna Tahm Kench that we saw V5 pilot to such greatness last game as well. We'll see the... what were you saying?
We've had 2 Draven games so far with the Winged Draven. Well, I remember the Winged Draven where he got a ton of stacks then died, and the Jackie Love game where he never got enough stacks, so he just perma kept dying. Bear in mind, stacks, they changed this on patch 12.10b. They hot fixed it, so Draven stacks are worth 2.5 gold each. So even more, so it's even more important that you get those stacks in. Now, can be super volatile as a result. LGD do end up banning Lissandra, which forces the Ahri ban for V5. And now looking towards the Swain, which is a pretty strong pick and was banned second rotation by V5.
I was hoping. I'm still hoping for it.
Really?
Okay, we're getting the Vygar here. I was really hoping. We saw the Swain ban in that first game by V5, leaving it open this time. I was like, oh, yeah, Yaji's going to pick that one up. But is the Vygar? I think that's another interesting conundrum here coming into LGD's composition game 2.
Yeah, I will agree that it's a conundrum. Blind Veigar, well, one of the negative aspects of it is that you're not going to be really easily able to contest mid prior into most matchups. Dream undoubtedly is going to be able to find a favorable mid jungle 2v2, so... Bit of an interesting one there. We do see the Kayle blind come out for Rich. A lot of top laners banned away, makes him feel comfortable to go for that, but I'm hoping Fairness has a response. And Dream, I wouldn't go for the Silas. You're playing into a Veigar. Playing a melee champion to that does not sound like the best idea. But let's see what he ends up going for.
Why does it feel like, again, V5 are just getting everything they wanted? It felt that way in game number 1 as well, even on the red side over there, that they got a lot of the pieces that they, you know, had originally wanted in their draft setups. And this time around on the blue side, feels a lot of the same. Or we get a lot of the same, because we have 3 of the same picks from last game, but the other picks fit right into the wheelhouse that V5 are looking to pilot.
Yeah, I feel like V5 are pretty comfortable here. They're like mid jungle, they're gonna have Prio in. Wukong Orianna is so threatening in team fights, especially if you have the Kayle on top. Imagine an invincible Wukong with an Orianna shockwave on top, and also the Kayle AoE damage as well. pretty threatening. There's a lot of safety tools for the backline of V5, and obviously the dive potential of Wukong. And then for LGD, you know, they're not going to have mid prio. They have the Jace into Kayle matchup, which obviously gives prio early and should be able to find pressure. But my big concern is that, like, Jace is so far away from the bot lane. Like, I would have liked them to go for a more scaling element top, which is, I guess, hard into Kayle, but then have a mid laner who can contest prio and move down to play for your Draven. Because at the end of the day, V5's composition is going to outscale, but also, if Draven falls behind, I think the game's just over for LGD. I think if Draven gets shut down or loses all his stacks, it is doomed. So, you know, let's see what happens. Definitely can see some enemy team walk into a Veigar cage, though. There's always a window for that to happen.
There's always a window, man. That's the beautiful thing about it. But I want to go ahead and nitpick some of these compositions. I know we were talking for LGD, wanting to see something to contend with the late game possibilities that V5 have been going for in this series itself. And, you know, they get the Veigar. And that's something you can work towards itself. I find it, you know, you already said that it was an interesting pick coming into this one. But I still think that, like, they're definitely opting into a little bit of that skirmishing early. They're definitely looking to get out ahead, kind of like what they did in last game as well. And that's going to be a tough test against V5, who we've already seen can take the pressure early on, come into the late game fights, not even really need all those lead up objectives, and still come out on top with it because of their execution, because of their mechanics. And as we come onto the rip for the second time of the day, V5 one step away from starting their summer split 2-0. LGD, they want to just try to find purchase in summer. They want to try to get this to 3 games here against V5.
Yeah, and I think going back to that point with the Veigar, if you're playing a 50-minute game, pretty nice to be on a Veigar, I'll be honest. But, oh, Botic is here.
The slows are pretty good as Fearness getting chunked down. We'll just have to back off. Did give a one soul over to Photic. No big
60 gold thanks to the stacks and the support item, but PP got in trouble now.
Wait, no, Assam with the Draven. Oh my God, they're gonna catch out PP God. First blood for Assam for LGD in game 2.
That's a good start. That is a good start. You know, we see the invade top, 60 gold for Photic, and the soul not nearly as impactful as getting that first blood onto the Draven. He won't have time to reset, importantly enough, so won't be able to end up getting himself a longsword to go into lane. But it's just overzealousness. If you're making that play on the top side, enemy team know you're weaker there. You should be backing away. You shouldn't be trying to contest, and it ends up being a pretty punishing mistake. So your first take for LGD, Draven's ahead. Let's see what they can do and see if they can keep the momentum. Obviously, didn't really have any stacks to cash in at that point.
Yeah, definitely a little bit of a lead here for LGD. We did see them get a lead early on, though, last game and find a lot of pressure for themselves last game. So we'll keep an eye on that one and see how this bot lane kind of pans out. But I love that, you know, Asam's getting the first blood, getting a little bit of credit down here, because I do think that if LGD are going to be successful, we saw last game, Asam is a huge part to that. His mechanics are nutty. You got to keep a lookout for those as we get into the team fights and get into the skirmishes here. But they do trade down pretty heavily in the bot lane.
Yeah, hard to trade against Sanatar with all the sustain coming through from them. We'll see who hits level 2 first, so it could be a critical point in this. And Shadow's actually gone for his red Raptors into this blue side, so trying to be on the bot side and covering them, which is important. Remember, Asam Jinjiao actually had shove early in the last game, and it was, I know this seems like so long ago, it was literally a 50-minute game, but that early gank from XLB given the double really set them behind, and you do not want that to happen here. So Shadow going to be moving up towards mid, will be spotted on that ward, but get some information himself. Dream should just be able to walk this one out.
Yeah, he's just going to take the long path, the scenic route through the bushes there, as they did spot out there with Shadow. Bot lane, though, Jin Zhao goes back in for the engage. The Nautilus been looking really good for the LGD bot lane. They trade down. They do need to get an advantage down here, and Shadow knows that to be true. They've got to get Asam ahead on this Draven. We do not want to see the Dravens we've seen in Summer Split thus far come out again for a third time.
And Shadow is really sacrificing his own jungle for the rest of his team. Look at XLB. He's now 2 camps ahead, 3 camps ahead, because he just destroyed that scuttle. 24 CS to 12. Shadow will take the boss scuttle and be able to clear his camp, but it's very clear Shadow's done so much to try and make sure this Draven is safe at his own cost. But the problem is, you have this Jace who's pushing in the top lane. Fortunately, the ward will keep Fairness safe for now, but the wave is still in an uncomfortable position.
Do like the willingness for XLB to go up there, though, and I want to dive into XLB a little bit more here because going into this one, we saw some good turnarounds last game itself, but XLB coming in here replacing Karsa for this series. I think that's a huge thing. That is showing something with V5 that they're willing to commit to XLB, to give stage time, to try to bring this roster together with Dream as well, and I find that always so fun to keep an eye on when teams are willing to kind of try things out together. We'll keep an eye out XLB and Dream is on the opposite side of the jungle. Shadows back down to this bottom side and looking again to try to get something onto Photic. Photic flashes from the dredge line and gets out.
Yeah, you can see the wave was pushing away from V5, so in an uncomfortable spot. XLB was heading over, but honestly, Photic, he didn't need to step up there and go for the ward. He clearly expected the enemy jungler might be there. That's where he went, but now flashed down, a bit more of a vulnerability. The correct play, in my opinion, would have just been wait for your jungler. Yes, you might miss a little bit of CS, but at least you keep your summoners up. And now there's a position where, you know, an all-in from LGD before level 6, before that Tahm Kench gobble for safety, could lead to that kill for Asum. He already has a Dirk in his inventory, so this Draven damage is going to be pretty big.
It is going to be pretty big. That kill helping out a little bit to get that.
Okay, that he just autoed Photic and did like no damage. I think his axe might have timed out there.
Maybe, yeah.
I was like, wow, that really
perfect
was
caster
anticlimactic.
Curse. Yeah, it's perfect caster curse every single time. It is Shadow, though, himself on the top side of the map. Not going to be back down towards this bottom side with those resets coming out, but it's still going to be a lot calmer, I feel like, of an early game than we got last time around.
No way.
Not speaking of, Rich
okay,
almost takes a trade on a Fearless at the top side, but level 6 is coming across the board now, Sunox.
The knockaway and the phase rush should have to get him out, but I saw the low mana on Finesse and I was like, there's no way you get solo killed by Kayle pre-6. And he doesn't, so it's okay. But ultimately, Rich has had a fine time in the top lane. Go with the Ninja Tabi to mitigate some of that damage from the Jace. But like, if Finesse isn't winning this lane, you're just going to get outscaled. We've seen countless times how relevant this Kayle can be in the later stages of the game. Particularly in a game like this, I feel like, oh, you've seen Engage come in.
Oh, man, the cage comes out. Yeah, G has the flash. The thing I love about Kayle is as a play-by-play, it's really easy to know the power spike because all I got to do is remember a few numbers, like the number 11 and then the number 16. See, as a play-by-play, I can do that.
It ain't level 15. It ain't level 17.
It's right in the middle. It's like the holy hand
number.
Grenade from Monty Python's Holy Grail. It's not 1, not 2, but 3. But it is really interesting to see coming into this one, as we do see a dragon going over to LGD, as has been, as they are the ones that have been getting the early objective focuses in this series so far.
Okay, second will be Ocean. We'll see what they end up getting in this one. Obviously, I said last game the Soul really did not do them any favors. They want a powerful dragon coming out here. They ideally want it to be Mountain or Infernal. I feel like Mountain's... Oh, you see a bit of a hook come in, but no, it's just going to be a heavy trade. Yeah, so Mountain Infernal, I think, would go a long way for LGD. I feel like Cloud is marginally better this game than the last one, but really not by much. And Shadow, once more, leaning down towards the bot side. XLB will find out his red is missing. But they are looking for a play, but the tower is there to keep them safe. And the big thing to note is Flash being down for Photic was a relevant window to punish.
Abyssal Dive down there. They actually are continuing that fight, but top side, got another trade going down. The Abyssal Dive not going to be enough to continue onto Shadow, so nothing else on the bottom side or the top side.
Shadow ends up flashing away, so that is it. Burn in that situation. I like the punish for V5. But the big thing is they wanted to make something happen with the Flash being down for Photic. Yeah, I mean, we'll see the flash.
Okay, yeah, so it was fun.
But ultimately, the ult is going to be available to PP God pretty shortly, and at that point, it becomes very hard to punish this lane. That's why LGD have been so focused on trying to punish this lack of summoner, but it hasn't come to fruition. And this is where things get a little bit tenuous, because Asum's going to continue stacking, and then it becomes a waiting game. When will he get that first cash in? As I said before, because of the durability changes, Draven was feeling a bit weaker. So they bumped up the stacks from 25 base to 40 base, which isn't that much. But also the stacks are gone from being worth 2 gold each to 2.5 gold each. So when you get them up to higher numbers, you can definitely get a lot more money out of a cash in.
Fearness and Shadow combining to take the first Rift Herald of the game. XLB here, though, with Rich as well. Not exactly the power spike you want. Bot lane, though, we're talking about power spikes And some damage back and forth between the supports. Both ADCs pumping them out. But nothing else going to come to it. We do have a bunch of bodies conjoining in the top side of the map, though. As Rift Herald does go down to V5, he will not get the eye here. He flashes for it with the Cyclone. XLB is on one, and Shadow takes it to the face. Yeji is dead to rights, and that's a big double pickup for V5.
Oh, I mean, they get everything they want and more. They get the Herald, they get the kills. Shadow goes in way too deep, and then, you know, you have to be looking for the reset when you're playing this out on the Viego. Ideally, you want someone to get stunned by Yeji. You want them to get bursted by the Veigar, and then you get the reset out of that for the ult usage. That just wasn't going to work out. And bear in mind, Rich still had his ultimate available in that passage of play, so just very doomed for LGD. You can see Shadow has fallen behind in the jungle matchup thanks to all that time he spent below. And yeah, we'll get a bit of a replay of that heavy trading that came in bot. Jinzhao flashing over the root to try and secure this.
A very preemptive heal there as well, but still not able to pull it out. This is huge, though. The fact that XLB gets it, also flashes over the baby cage onto the Cyclone, and forces the hand of LGD there with the shockwave on top of it. That's the combo that you were alluding to a little bit of in the draft docs.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. And, you know, there's two sides to it. The good side is Aston got to cash in his stacks. I didn't get to see quite how many he did cash in, but a big influx of gold for this Draven. So bot lane, without really much intervention, is going pretty good for LGD. Problem is, mid-jungle, obviously, is falling behind off the back of that. But ultimately, the main thing I was concerned about was this Draven either being ahead, as he is now, or getting stomped into the ground. And so far, LGD's hope's still alive.
Still kicking here, as we'll see a trade between both junglers. XLB feeling very confident to continue this trading, as he does have priority in mid lane from Dream. Will not come to fruition here, though, as we have about a minute for another dragon fight here. Rich actually has been putting on some work on a Fearless on this matchup in topside, leading to now more than likely a 4v4 that we're going to have around this dragon pit.
Yeah, no TPs. Well, Rich's TP might actually be available for it, but no TP for Fairness. But you do see that, like, the sustained trading power off the Kayle once she's past that level 6 is obviously a window Rich can use against the Jace. Jace is looking for those bursty trades, but struggling a bit in this 1v1 matchup, and it's only going to get worse as the game goes on. LGD being forced away, and this Veigar pick so far hasn't really been able to shine. V5 looking to get control over the Dragon area and try and deny LGD from stacking those Drakes up once more.
Shadow coming back down towards bot lane, though. That will be a re-engage by Jinzhao. Here comes Shadow as well. Can't connect the stun there. XLB is here to respond in kind. It will be a failed attempt there from LGD to find something on bot lane.
Yeah, trying to make something happen, but PP God does bin the flash, so there is that positive aspect. But the control is still there. The prio is still available in mid and bot, and V5 will just be able to pick up that dragon. Slow down the soul stacking from LGD, and essentially buying them more time, which is super favorable. Now there's the Predator gank.
Rich, you're doomed. You're doomed. He does die in the end. It'll be a pickup for LGD.
Yeah, and TP coming back in mid to try and defend the tower here.
Rift Herald spawned here by
Herald
XLB
coming down,
well.
yeah.
Shadow is here too, so it's a 2v2 scuffle, but the Rift Herald get a couple plates here. As Fodic also comes up this way, they'll get the other plate. Not going to get the tower just yet, but a lot of gold given to the pockets of V5.
Super scary, that's the thing. Veigar leaves mid once, instantly punished. The plate had already been taken off the mid lane tower, but with the Herald, it's now so low, and losing mid tower early, definitely a painful one if that ends up going down. Don't even think they'll need a second Herald for that. Just a window where Veigar's not in lane. Luden's picked up for Dream. Already got that mythic completed. And we do see Asum as well with the Kraken Slayer. So pretty solid in terms of the gold on that Draven.
It's looking pretty good for Asum in this one. But I do want to zoom out a little bit. Since we have some time, talk about expectations for both these two teams, right? Gotta set the table,
game,
right?
Or within the league?
Within the league. Yes, we get the actually... okay, we got to let the director go a little bit more here because this is a pretty fun little iteration. Poor Rich is just doomed from the get-go. Didn't even need the baby cage from Yaji there. But in all actuality, right, you look at the spring performances of both these two teams. V5 themselves ending up at the top of the table, but not being able to secure anything really meaningful for themselves in the spring playoffs. LGD always looking for the growth, the development, trying to build up to something. And talking about building up to something, Fearness needs to build up to an escape as he does get away with the flash burn. But it's differing thought processes coming in for both these organizations coming into summer split as well, Ox.
I'm not sure what that ultimate was from Rich, is all I'm going to say on the subject. Yeah, I think for V5, they exceeded expectations in spring prior to the split. But then considering how dominant they were in the regular season, playoffs, not being able to beat out top esports, not even making the finals, a bit of a disappointment. Expectation is they'll go Wills and maybe be a contender for the title, but XLB is looking for a fight here and now.
They can't get
Will
him.
just ward Fairness off. And yeah, that is my expectation for V5. For LGD, the only way is up. Realistically, and Asum has seemed to be a good addition. He will be rewarded with that first tower gold, so is Draven going to get even further ahead?
And I love to see the performances coming out from the likes of Asum, but as well as the rest of LGD. We're seeing that early prowess, at least in game number 1 of this series from Shadow as well, making sure that there's stuff happening for LGD, where a lot of the past it has felt like, if one thing goes wrong early for LGD, nothing else goes right for them. Whereas in these, it feels like they're able to fight back, and no matter what, even in the deficits. Where in this second game of the series, it's a much different iteration of gameplay than we saw in the first game, where LGD were clear and ahead of, in the lead to dictate the pace of the game early on, especially the pre-20-minute mark. But here, it's very much tied down, and it's very much still in favor of V5, I feel like, because of the scaling aspect coming through.
Yeah, and we see Dream looking to get that tier 1 in the mid lane, not quite able to find it though, as we see Jinja trade flashes to try and punish. Look at the payer gold on the side. Draven is so far ahead. There will be a bit of an influx in return thanks to this tower being taken. Draven is in a really powerful position and should have built up a good amount of stacks again. That's the thing, you can just keep cashing in every time you find these opportunities to get kills. The more kills you get, the stronger you are. Kind of a recurring theme, and they will be securing the second Herald.
The number, it's 11. Rich is at 11. I did it. It's 1 and 1.
I've been in Twitch chat a lot for Kale games in the LPL.
Oh no, I caster cursed him though. He hit level 11 and he dies to Asum all the way across.
From Asum. Oh, what a win. Now they will lose that mid tier 1. But going back to my point, there's always people in chat. They'll be doing the Pepe pointing at the clock, and they'll be like, 11 out of 16 right now. That's what we're on, 11 out of 16. And we're waiting for that 16 point. 11's whatever. I'm not really bothered. Level 16, that's what we're looking towards. But what I will say is Asum getting that cash in again has just recalled, finished the collector, and a cloak of agility.
There's 2 items.
Draven is going to be mighty problematic, and kind of see why it was banned in game 1.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the snipe down is what's huge across the map as well. Perfect timing from the team. But it is about the resource allocation. And for LGD, that is where exactly the goal needs to go. Now, we have a dragon spawning on to the Rift here, but we have a Rift Herald in the pocket of Shadow, and mid lane is looking to be the case for this one to be played. It will be Dragon started up, though, by V5.
Yeah, and they kind of just zoned LGD away. That commitment to the top side play means LGD aren't able to approach now, because LGD got that first dragon. It's a while away from Soul, and they're gonna look to focus instead of that stacking, instead of the focus on the late game. They're going for gold here and now, trying to get this tier 2.
Try to bring Asum over here, get this tower down. Don't think they'll be able to though, as V5 respond in kind with Dream and PP God. Got some pings towards mid lane though, as LGD now collapsing over this way. Rich gets away from the baby cage, and the Everfrost moves too quick, but the tower is now under some trouble against LGD. They realize they're not in a position. Feels like they're just taking a walk around the Rift here, Ox, just seeing what's available. It's like playing Jenga. It's like, oh, let's tap this block. Does this come out? No, not that one. All right, let's try this one. And just walking around the map.
They're not really getting too much, right? The play was to try and get that tier 2 top. Didn't really happen. And so as a result, slowed down a fair bit. Something I do want to note is Dream has been farming up a storm in this Orianna. 203 CS. Past that 10 CS per minute, and a pretty big gap on anyone in the game. So this Orianna will be very relevant. And now Shadow potentially caught out.
He got the crop. At least. A decent amount of damage from Rich on the back end of it, though. Oh, XLB in some trouble, as the spinning axe is not going to be there into the fight, because Asum took it away by PP God and Fodic coming to the fight. He did have an interesting position for Fearness, way down in the enemy jungle, but not going to pull the trigger on a flank.
Yeah, ultimately pressure applied. Not able to find more though. And I'm just gonna be honest, I feel like Jace not the ideal flank target ultimately. And not exactly too threatening coming on the backline in this situation. And we see Rich going for the Lost Chapter. So people tend to go for Riftmaker on the Kayle. We did have the Shy going for Crown of the Shattered Queen. And that was specifically into Jace as well. It was a heavy poke game, I remember. So people were like, it's just going to get procced by the enemy team. Maybe the thought process is if it blocks the damage from one Shock Blast, then that's worth it. I'm not really sure I agree necessarily. You do also get some movement speed, I believe, in the Mythic passive, so maybe that's a contributing factor. By the way, we'll see if it does end up being that Crown of the Shattered Queen, as we saw from the Shy. For now, though, Jinja caught out.
He's in some trouble here. A decent amount of damage, but now Asim is right here. XLB goes over the wall, gets the kill on the Jin Zhao, and V5 back away.
Yeah, easy pickup, and it feels like V5 in this mid game have really ramped up on the control of the map, trying to find these windows, make these opportunities happen, and just keep control of the area, stop anyone from coming close.
Ooh.
Do you see Rich chunked out, though, in this situation?
Decent amount of damage coming out from Fearness there. No big deal, right? But it is a nice little trade back, and LGD keeping the guard up. But Fearness in some trouble here. Photic and Rich are chasing down XLB. Try to help out against Fearness, but they won't find anything just yet.
Feels like XLB is fearless, honestly, in this game. Just constantly fishing for these windows. Do you see Iggy moving down with the Predator, trying to make a pick, but it's a Wukong. Not really going to find too much there.
They're still chasing for it. Heartbreaker was used and the flash to chase down XLB. PP God's on the side over here. Big accelerated shock blast. Fearness goes in, but the Righteous Judgment immediately pulled. There we go with the damage is going to follow. It's going to be from LGD. The Devour comes out. XLB, he flashes away. The depth charge, it's not enough. Can they get it? They can't. Oh my God, XLB. He gets out. He just broke the entirety of LGD's ankles.
Man, Wukong is so slippery, and you see on Prime display. In the meantime, while this is all going on, Dream is just farming the sides, and again, V5, excellent use of the side lanes. They win out in that extended play as a result. A big influx of gold for the Orianna as well. It will be the Crown of the Shattered Queen for the Kayle, something we saw the Shy do, much to the dismay of the community. And yeah, I think ultimately Wukong's super slippery. They try to go for Rich, the ult stone down. They look for Yeji here, but although XLB ends up overextending, the invisibility buying some time, the flash as well, and then it's the ult shield from the Senna that keeps him alive at the end. So really nice from Photic to bail out his jungler there.
First team All-Pro in Spring for a reason. We will see PP God dragged out though, and Yaji gets his second kill of the game for LGD.
But it's not Asim, so there's stacks still available. I'm wondering how many we're sitting on now, but it has been a while since the last cash-in. I feel like that's been a recurring theme. You know, the other Dravens we're seeing, Jackie Love just permanently died, so we never had any stacks. We saw Wink die on a big chunk of stacks. Asim's been regularly cashing in, so a lot more reliable, but no doubt will have built up a decent amount. But now, posturing for the Dragon, second for LGD, third for V5 to secure it. LGD have control of the area, and face checking into this Jace poke into the cage. Very difficult to do, very hard to push into this area. So maybe V5 just opt to give this one up.
Like we got a lot of pings from V5 going towards this mid tower as the Dragon just disappears in front of our eyes from LGD. They'll need to get back and defend against this, though, as the cage comes out. No need for the CC just yet. Hex Flash over the wall, though. Jin Zhao wants it. He's getting chunked out here. Abyssal Dive comes out. PP God is going to devour Photic, and now they're turning around the fight, though, and it's still going in favor of V5. I don't think Asim can get out of here. Flashes, but where's he flashing to?
No, he's trapped.
There's no way out. You're dead, son. And that's a kill going over to Rich. It's more going into the hands of V5.
And honestly, they could head to the Baron potentially. Feels like no flash, no ult from Shadow. Very hard for him to get into the pit. Just big mistakes coming out from LGD. They commit onto Photic, but remember, this team, this V5, has so many defensive tools. The Kayle ult and the Gobble from the Tahm Kench actually overlapped, so not ideal in that regard, but it still does not matter. They're able to do so. And now This isn't Shadow. This is Fairness. Fairness is the only one with the possibility to steal. The Shock Blast a bit too early. Didn't have vision. And that will be Baron secured for V5. 5,000 gold lead when, as we said earlier, they are going to outscale. And we'll see that replay. And yeah, so they go for Photic. Squishy member. Good target. They know that Tom Kench isn't near, but aren't able to finish him out. The KO keeps him alive with the flash and the gobble. And then they start to turn it around.
Yeah, I mean, Rich is like untouched to the top side. Like, that's the thing is in these kinds of predicaments, it's really hard for LGD to call targets because there's so many difficult targets. Yeah, that was a little bit rough. We weren't gonna highlight that, all right, Ox? We're gonna walk over
I'm
away
there
from
to
that.
bring it up, but it's fine. You know, he's hyper fed, 283 CS right now. Dream is monster fed. Assam loses his stacks, and I think a big thing to note, thanks to Baron and the extra experience, Photic even in levels with Assam right now. Dream level 15 right now, so strong. I mean, we talk about the Senna, the Kale as these very late game spiking champions. Orianna really holds up well, so gonna be painful if a shockwave does connect onto any critical targets.
It is indeed. We've already seen some iterations of that here as Dream caught out. I don't know why he didn't go back under tower. It has to go golden now. Is going to be in the baby cage as well. Dodges out for the Everfrost. The shockwave back. LGD just can't find a break. Jin Zhao gets broken, and Righteous Judgment comes out just for the flare from Rich and V5.
Yeah, that's a combo, right? It's so hard to deal with, and LGD just don't have a response, running away. Photic's looking for Yeji. He has the range to play with here.
He walked straight into the baby cage there as well. Appreciate that one. We did get Fearness getting an objective bounty on the side lane here, but what's it going to matter when you're losing your entire base? As now V5 are onto the inhib towers here in both mid and bot against LGD.
And it's just a goal of defending at this point, but with PP God with a gobble, it makes it so hard for him to try and find a pick opportunity. Tower taking heavy damage here.
Trying to take down the tower here. Shadow getting very low as well. They go for the engage, the Devour on to Rich, and now Dawning Shadow to signal the players going forward. They are wiping the floor with LGD. They've already gotten 2 kills for Rich himself on the Kale. Assam can't do anything here, no matter how strong the Draven is, no matter how close you are to 3 items. V5 are looking to make a statement early on into the split. They're TPing into the fight, and they're looking to end the game right now, Ox.
And I'm not sure what LGD can do.
There's not much left. The tower will fall. There's nothing left for LGD to say as V5 take out a dominant 2-0 victory against LGD. Doesn't matter if they don't have Karsa. Doesn't matter if they don't have Rookie. It is about showing up in the moment, and XLB and Dream do just that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a solid game 2 after a game 1 that really felt like LGD had more of a fighting chance, but ultimately in this one, the mid jungle working better, and they're able to close out this game. Rich again having a fantastic one on the Kale, really not challenged in